What's up, guys? Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way again. Stevesmi and Rick, another awesome episode. We're going to have 3 topics. The first one is, are steroids addictive? And this is a really, really interesting one because we get this question a lot on the forums, and guys kind of mix it up. It just seems like the government and has an opinion on this. People who actually use steroids have an opinion on this. Doctors have an opinion on this. There's a lot of confusion out there and a lot of misinterpretation of things. So I'm bringing Rick because Rick's been using steroids for like 20, 25 years, and he's been on these forums for years and years. He's talked to a lot of people who are avid steroid users. So Rick, what's your opinion on if steroids are addictive?
Well, a lot of things can be addictive, steroids being one of them. The lifestyle is addictive. And since steroids help you with this lifestyle, you're going to become addicted to them pretty quickly if you start using them. Now, what I mean by addiction, because it's not like being addicted to a narcotic or one of these things where you're going to feel like you might die from withdrawal symptoms. With steroids, it's quite different. You get addicted to the feeling, you get addicted to the pump that you get in the gym, you get addicted to the progress, to the strength, and definitely the lifestyle. The lifestyle is addictive. Living this type of lifestyle is a very, very addictive pattern. So steroids work, and they cause huge changes in your body when you use them. And I think that's the part that makes it addicted for people is you don't want to train without steroids once you know what it's like. Once you've been making gains on the sauce, you don't really want to train natural anymore. Also, they enhance your libido, the way you feel, your mood, elevates all kinds of things. So it's also not a great feeling to be without the sauce and feel kind of run down and tired and not have all that energy you normally would have. So I certainly think they're addictive for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point because I look back at my history and the strongest I've ever been was while I was on tren. There's no way I could have been as strong without using tren. So if you really let your ego get in the way of things and you want to go into the gym, throw 3 plates on there, okay, and fucking put out reps, then and you're addicted to that feeling in the gym of you do that and you get up and you're like, I'm the man, you get used to feeling like that, like you're the fucking alpha, and it's hard to get away from that. But let me tell you something though, a thing I've noticed, and I've talked to guys who I've interviewed pros on this show. I've interviewed Mr. Olympia guys, top 10, top 15 Olympia guys. I've interviewed Mr. Olympia champions on this podcast. You can go back and look. And I've talked to them about this. And here's the thing. If you start lifting weights in like 2 weeks or 2 months or even 2 years after you start lifting weights, you hop on steroids, you're going to get addicted to that feeling of being on. You're not going to want to work out without them. That's where the addiction comes into play. In my situation, I went 13 years weight training. I was an endurance athlete. I was a power lifter, and I never touched steroids in that 13 years. So for me, I can easily not use steroids and still be motivated to go to the gym. But if you never put in the years and you are used to using the steroids and you're used to being that strong and you're used to all this stuff, it's hard to get away from that. Because we all want that trajectory straight up. And we don't want to accept that you have to take steps back to go forward. Professional athletes, okay, NFL athletes right now are on vacation. They don't report to training camp till late July. They had mini camps a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago. They got a full month off, and then they go back, they go to training camp in late July, and then they have their regular season, and then the season's over in January. If they make the playoffs, they go to Super Bowl. It's in February. What do they do from February to late July? Virtually, they're not in there pounding their bodies away. It's not a nonstop trajectory. You're going to have Tom Brady today is not ready to go to the Super Bowl, but he'll be ready in February to go to Super Bowl. So you have to accept your body's going to go up and down. And I think that in the bodybuilding industry, Rick, we see this pattern of guys who think that you can just progress week after week, month after month, year after year, nonstop up, but you get bitch slapped. One day you're going to get bitch slapped. You're going to get an injury. You're going to get a divorce. Something's going to happen. We're going to have to take a step back. And it's better to do that and lay off the steroids and not be addicted to them. You got to take time off from the steroids if you're going to get the most out of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to take time off of them, especially, these are synthetic hormones that we made in the labs at some point. And you're not supposed to take these all the time. Now, most of the guys competing, I'd say all the guys competing at the top level, they are on something year round. And that is just their lifestyle. That's what they've decided their life is going to be like. But guys like you and I, man, you got to come off of this stuff. Just blast a nice cycle and make sure you come off and stay off of it, and make sure you can train without the steroids. Make sure you can have sex without the steroids. Make sure you can go on through your day and your life without having to take them, because they will become addictive. I mean, that's just a great feeling that you get when you're mid-cycle, and every day you are putting on mass. Every day you're putting on strength. Every day you're seeing new aspirations, new cuts in your body. So it's a very addictive feeling. So learn to train without them. Mainly, that's what you want to do first, is you want to adopt the lifestyle first, become addicted to the lifestyle first. And then it'll be easier not to use the steroids as such a crutch.
And then the benefit of doing that too is when you do use the steroids, you do cycle on, you'll get tremendous results. You'll get way better results than someone who's just addicted to steroids and uses them year round. Because everybody I know, all these young guys in their early 20s, okay, and I've talked to them over the years, for the past decade. Rick, you've talked to them too. All of them who were addicted to steroids at 20, 21, 22 and ran them like for months on end when they were that young, now they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They don't even work out anymore.
Yeah,
so
kind of quit.
Something's wrong there. Something is wrong there. If that's what's happening, you fall off the wagon and you just give up on training entirely. You don't want to do that. So it's all about consistency. But the bottom line is, are steroids actually addictive? No, they're not, but they can be mentally addictive, I think, is what the best way to describe it. Would that be the characterization you would do, Rick?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, definitely. They're not going to give you withdrawal symptoms the way something like heroin would, obviously.
Even like sugar will give you.
You will feel.
Yeah. I was going to say sugar. Like, people are addicted to sugar. They don't have sugar, they get fucking withdrawal symptoms. So
absolutely.
Yeah, steroids won't do that. So
And to be fair, I guess gambling is a pretty a destructive addiction, and there are no substances involved. So you can become addicted to injecting the way you feel from it. I mean, it's not a withdrawal symptom, heroin addiction, but it definitely is a lifestyle addiction where your lifestyle just seems better while using them. And that's definitely something to be mindful of and something to understand every time you use any of this stuff.
All right, guys, next topic is organic worth it? It's a pretty dicey question, and we get a lot of opinions about this. And I had a farmer on the podcast a few months ago who was actually an organic farmer, so I actually learned a lot from him, and you guys can go back and listen to that episode. I'll get Rick on this first, because Rick knows a lot about stuff like soil depletion and stuff. I mean, we talk off air about this stuff, and he's a wealth of knowledge. So I'm curious to hear what you think about this topic.
When it comes to produce, plants, they still have to use some pesticides. They still have to use some stuff in there. When it comes to animals, I really like all of my chicken, all of my beef to be grass-fed, free-range, cageless. I definitely think that the way we treat the animals as they're being raised, it makes for a better product, makes for better, more nutritious food. So I gravitate towards that. when it comes to produce, I do buy organic, but it's one of those things where if I just can't get something organic, I don't go crazy over it. I just buy regular stuff. It's you want to make organic a decent portion of your diet, but not go too crazy over it, because at the end of the day, you're still getting something in there. You know, even if the stuff is raised organic, there's other stuff falling onto the soil now that wasn't falling onto the soil 20, 30 years ago. So it's definitely, I think when it comes to the animals is the more important part. Cageless, grass-fed, free range. You know, that makes a huge difference in my opinion. And I think you can taste it too. It's with the eggs, when you have a cageless, cageless eggs. I free range chickens. I mean, it's just the food. It tastes much better.
Yeah, you want it with the eggs. Even if it says cage free, that's a little loophole in the law. That just means that they could be running around in a barn on top of each other. That doesn't necessarily mean they're outside, they're pecking, they're eating bugs and stuff. So what you want to look at with eggs is you want to look at that humane friendly stamp. The humane friendly stamp means that the chickens are running around, they're pecking, they're eating seeds, they're eating worms, they're eating bugs, exactly as nature intended. And then at night, they bring them into the barn where it's safe and they won't get eaten by predators. And then the next morning, they're let out again. So that's what you should be looking for with your eggs. It makes a huge difference. If you buy the cheap-ass eggs from Walmart, it tastes like chemicals. I mean, that shit's horrible. Like, I don't know. Like, you can taste the difference, guys. You can feel
taste the difference in the food. You can taste the difference.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You feel like shit after consuming it.
Organic milk. I switched over to organic milk a while back, and you can taste the difference.
Oh, absolutely. You can look at grass-fed beef versus regular beef, and you can the color is not even the same, guys. I mean, it's completely different. I mean, one is loaded with vitamins and minerals, and one is not. So yes, it does make a difference. I grow a lot of my own stuff. I have a vegetable garden, and I don't use any type of pesticides, anything. I don't use herbicides, pesticides, nothing. It's completely organic. I do lose a lot of crop to pests. I lose a lot of crop to rodents. My cat helps me out with that, by the way. But, you know, it's okay, you know, because at the end of the day, the food is much better quality. It's going to be full of minerals and vitamins. When you spray pesticides on these produce, it not only gets on the produce itself, but it also gets sucked into the plant. So it kills the beneficial bacteria. It knocks down the nutritional value of that. So it makes a huge difference. But what Rick said, though, I agree with. I had a pomegranate earlier today, and it was not organic. It was conventional because I didn't have access to organic pomegranate. They usually have conventional. But since the pomegranate has a really thick skin, you know, you're not in that type of situation. But if you're getting like green lettuce, romaine, berries, stuff like that, which aren't protected, you definitely want to go the organic route. Otherwise, you're going to be consuming pesticides. And over time, guys, that's going to kill a lot of your good cells, and that's going to open yourself up to getting cancer. We see this with people who work in the pesticide industry who have cancer rates that are about 500-600 times the normal rate. And it's really, really sad. And I was actually talking to someone about this. He visited a plant where there were these undocumented workers working in the plant. There was about 100 of them. And they were wearing no protection at all, working around the pesticides. So when he went in there, because he was a salesman, they told him, dude, you got to wear all this gear when you go in there. You can't be exposed to any of this stuff. And he walked in there and he was in shock that there was 100 people working without any gear on day in and day out. And he wondered to himself, why are they telling me I have to wear gear, but these people are working in these conditions? Well, guess what? Those workers, they don't give a shit about those workers. They're going to end up getting cancer and all kinds of health problems. So, you know, guys, use common sense on this, really. Like, do you really want to consume a little pesticide every day? I don't think it's a good idea. Pay a little more and get the organic with stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree that you could taste the difference, and it's worth it. I don't go crazy over it. If I can't get something organic, I'll do whatever is available. But whenever I can, I will spend the extra cash to go organic.
and let's not get into the soil issues. You get these pesticides in the soil, that's ruining the soil. We went through the Dust Bowl because of greedy farmers and lazy farmers already. The only reason we don't go through another Dust Bowl anytime soon, it's going to happen again in 20 or 30 years, by the way, but it's not happening now because they found aquifer under the plains and they're able to basically run water on top of the plains. But once that aquifer dries out, we're going to have another Dust Bowl and we're going to have a major crop shortage in this country again. And we're going to be in trouble if farmers keep abusing the soil. And then these pesticides, they run into the oceans, they run into the rivers, they run into the lakes. We are seeing evidence of fish depletion. The amount of fish in our rivers and lakes and oceans is dropping rapidly, and the amount of jellyfish are rising. So eventually, unfortunately, our oceans are going to be overrun by jellyfish because thanks to these pesticides and plastics and all this shit in our water. So think of the damage you're doing to the environment when you are supporting lazy conventional farmers. So luckily, though,
I'm done eating fish, by the way. Just throw that in there. I'm done eating fish. I don't eat fish anymore. Maybe I'll have 2 fish meals a month, if that. It's just, we've reached that point where the health benefits just aren't there anymore. The oceans are too contaminated. And farmed fish, they're fed parts of a fish that they fished out of the water, out of the oceans that are contaminated. Also, when you have like a cow that gets sick or a chicken that gets sick, usually they'll get it inoculated. They'll get taken care of, the individual animal that's sick. Whenever they think there might be a fungus in the fish pool, they'll just drop a bunch of chemicals in there that affect all the fish. So in my opinion, we're up to the point now where it's not really that safe anymore to eat anything out of the oceans or out of these fish farms. So I've personally just completely cut out fish from my diet, brought it down to about maybe, again, 2 fish meals a month. And that's if it's just because it's there and whatever. But I think we're up to that point now where it's just too contaminated out there to eat the fish anymore. What do you think, Steve?
I mean, I don't have any doubt with that. There's actually, you're banning their plastic straws now because the plastic straws are getting into the ocean and they're doing that. Also, the turtles, the sea turtles are actually ingesting the straws and balloons and stuff for plastic. So,
I'll tell you how bad it is, man. The polyester fibers that are coming off our clothing in the wash, they're ending up in the ocean, and the plankton are eating them. They're finding microfibers, small plastic fibers in the digestive tracts of plankton that are eating them, thinking they're food, I guess, somehow.
If you look at the statistics, you can look this up, guys. Talk to any biologist in your area and ask them, is it safe to consume the fish out of this lake? And they'll say absolutely not. They say, yeah, we tested the fish out of this lake. You don't want to consume that fish. So, like if you want to consume fish, be very, very careful where you get it from because, but like Rick said, you got to reduce it and, you got to be aware of what you're putting in your body, guys. It's really getting bad out there. The soil depletion is actually, I've researched this quite a bit. The soil depletion that we're going through is causing people to be deficient in very important minerals, which is causing low testosterone levels. Specifically, boron and zinc is 80% of people now are deficient in these minerals. And without those minerals, you cannot produce testosterone. So if you're one of those people in your 20s and 30s who have low testosterone levels, it could be a big reason why that you are consuming too much conventional foods and not enough organic foods. So your mineral levels are going low. The soil is getting depleted. That's why every year, if you have a vegetable garden, you have to recycle your soil. You can't just use the same soil every year. So, all right, guys, next topic is going to be advantages and disadvantages of the 1-2 meal a day thing. I know Mike Rashid likes to do the 1 meal a day thing. I think it's called the OMAD diet. So Rick, I want to pick your brain a little bit on this. What do you think about the Mike Rashid OMAD diet, 1 meal a day? And what do you think about the 2 meal a day? Go ahead and tell us your thoughts.
Look, I read about these briefly before the podcast just to get familiar. These are variations of the same principle you and I have discussed many times, just restricting the time when you're feeding so that your body's not bombarded with insulin all day. I think 4 hours, a 4 hour feeding window is about the right feeding window. If you can manage a shorter one, I think that works as well. But yeah, I mean, look, 4 hours a day is the only time you want to be eating, from about 5 p.m. until about 9, 4 to 8, somewhere around there. And if you have one meal or two meals or six meals in those 4 hours, uh, to me and in my experience, it works just as well. Just restricting the time that you feed. It's the important part. You want to make sure to have a good long portion of the day when you're not bombarding your body with insulin, and maybe a couple of days a month where you are not taking in any calories at all. I've been saying that for a while. I'm going to continue to push that line. So I think it should work. Just on
Give
principle
us
alone, it should work.
give me your thoughts on why it's easier to put your 4 hour window in the evening. With a basic person, if you work like a normal 9 to 5 job, whatever, not saying you work at night, but normal 9 to 5 job, normal person, normal lifestyle, you like to work out, whatever, either before or after work. What's the advantage of doing the 4 hour window in the evening versus the 4 hour window in the morning? And I'll give my thoughts on it. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a good question. With me, it has always been that I do cardio in the morning. So doing morning cardio, I like to do fasted cardio. I feel looser, I feel better, and nice 36 ounces of water before I hit the door. And I'm out jogging, I'm out mountain biking, whatever it is. So with me, it just fits my lifestyle that haven't eaten anything. My stomach is nice and light, and I feel better and lighter when I haven't eaten anything. My brain is more awake, my body is ready to go. Once I start eating towards the evening hours, I get a little bit slower and a little bit sluggish. I get I can feel the energy from the food, but I also can feel my body going to digest it and process it. So it's just a normal rhythm for me. In the morning, I'm up doing cardio, I'm up getting work done. I feel good. I feel good. No breakfast, loose, nice empty stomach, feel ready to go. Evening time is when I get weightlifting in. It's when I watch TV, do quiet work, read, and it's just more of a winding down situation. I'm not going to be out and about doing anything, and it just fits better for me at least. I'm sure there are other folks out there who are doing their time restricted eating 4 hours as soon as they wake up until about whatever it is, noon. Then they won't eat throughout the day, and you can do it either way. You just have to restrict the feeding time, but you can really put it any window you want.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the hormones when you wake up in the morning are completely different than in the evening. And that's just human nature. We are not species that are night species. We've evolved at night to go hide in our shelter, our cave, whatever. And then we're hiding because we're scared of predators. We're scared of the dark. Humans have always been scared of the dark. I mean, you got to remember 2 million years of evolution, no electricity in that 2 million years, no flashlights at night, no, so we had to rely on a fire and firewood and keeping that fire up all night. We were scared, scary things came out at night, mice and rodents and came out at night, and scary looking creatures and cats, big cats that would compete with us for food and attack us and stuff. So, our hormones are different. We wake up in the morning, and the advantage for me of having your window in the evening is very simple, because if you wake up and you eat right off the bat, you're going to want to eat again 2 hours later. You're going to want to eat again 4 hours later, and on, because you get that blood sugar spike and then it comes back down. You're going to want to eat again. So you'll notice if you stick to your window in the evening, you won't get hungry until you have your breakfast. So the food companies love pushing breakfast. We just had a study come out, Rick, that said breakfast is the most important meal of the day. A study showed that. And guess who sponsored that study? Quaker Oats. Quaker Oats is a company that makes breakfast foods. So yeah, they want to push people to eat breakfast because they know if you eat breakfast, you're going to be hungry again 2 hours later, and hungry again 2 hours later, on and on. So the best way to do, if you're going to do the 2-meal thing, is try to work out like middle of the day. Work out empty stomach. Then you eat your first meal in that window, and then you have your second meal. And don't snack in between, either before or after. Try to space it out so your insulin levels come down, your glucagon goes up, and you get a nice little effect of the fat loss and the autophagy and all that good stuff that comes with it. Your gut will feel a lot better. So you won't feel less tired and sluggish. If you're getting sluggish in the middle of the day, I guarantee you a big reason for that is what you're doing when you wake up. And you're probably eating a big breakfast. You eat a big breakfast when you wake up, you're going to be sluggish. Because as human beings, our adrenaline levels are high in the morning. If you eat, your adrenaline levels are going to tank. Any final thoughts on that, Rick?
Yeah, just wanted to add a 20-hour period when you're not feeding throughout the day is good. It's pretty ideal. But if you're just getting started, if for whatever reason, lifestyle reasons, that's not convenient for you, you can do 16-hour fasted period and only give yourself about 8 hours to eat, which is still a lot, but it's better than eating all freaking day, right? So you can maybe, if you're going to do it towards the beginning of the day, you can have breakfast 7, 8 a.m. They have lunch around 2 or 3 and be done for the day. That's the 2 meal a day principle, I believe, that's out there. If you wanted to flip that around and do that at nighttime, I guess you can have your first meal sometime around 2 or 3, and then your last feeding around 8 or 9. And, it's a wider window. It's a different time, but you still want minimum, my opinion, minimum 16-hour fasted period throughout your day to get good results. Anything less than that, it's probably not beneficial, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the breakfast being the most important meal of the day, guys, completely wrong. These studies that come out, it's all the breakfast companies, all the cereal companies. People are catching on. I saw something where cereal companies, their revenues are coming down drastically. People are figuring out that they've been lied to since the 80s. We all grew up, Rick and I grew up in the cereal generation where we'd cut out coupons and our mom would be like, hey, cut out whatever coupon you want from the Sunday paper, and we go and buy our cereal, and that would be our food. You know what?
Yep.
It's horrible. It's horrible the way these food companies manipulate children. And if you watch a cartoon in the morning or whatever, Saturday morning cartoon, you'll see cereal commercials because they're trying to push this crap on kids. So guys, really, breakfast is actually not an important meal of the day. You're better off without breakfast. You are better off without breakfast. That's evolution, baby. 2 million years of evolution. Human beings did not eat breakfast when they woke up. They did not eat breakfast. When they woke up, they may look for food, but they weren't eating food. They didn't have refrigerators to open up to eat. So how are they supposed to eat food when they get up in the morning? So think about that, All right, guys. So we're done, guys. We blew through this. 3 great episodes. Send in your questions. We're supposed to have a caller this week, and we're going to continue kicking ass, guys. For Stevesmi and Rick, appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.
Talk to you guys next week. Take care, guys. Take care, Steve.
All right, buddy.